Carrie, we are following the breaking news out of Libya. President Obama has ordered U.S. flags to be flown at half-staff at all public buildings for the next 4 days. This is a mark of respect for the memory of Ambassador Chris Stevens and the 3 other Americans killed in that attack yesterday on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya. U.S. sources are telling CNN the attack was planned. The sources do not believe Ambassador Chris Stevens was specifically targeted. Protesters were furious about an online film that is considered highly offensive to Muslims. CNN senior international correspondent Nick Robertson joins me from London with more. Nick, tell us more about what we're hearing about this attack being planned.
Well, we still don't know who specifically was behind it, but we do know that the U.S. consulate in Benghazi was targeted on the 5th of June this year, and at that time the people responsible left behind leaflets saying that they were doing it because a senior al-Qaeda Libyan figure had been killed in a U.S. drone strike. They also said that they knew that at that time as well that Ambassador Chris Stevens was going to be at the consulate. Yesterday, for the first time, al-Qaeda actually admitted publicly, its leader Ayman al-Zawahiri admitted that this Libyan jihadist had been killed in a drone strike and called for retaliation, called for Libyans to target Americans. We also know that in the past year, he has set up al-Qaeda training camps in Libya. So it's not clear what role al-Qaeda played in this, but clearly there was an intention and a track record here that they've been involved in targeting that consulate and other Western officials. So before the investigation is completed, it's hard to say who's responsible. But there are indications here that al-Qaeda has established itself in the region and is behind at least agitation like for this type of attack.
What is some of the international response to this then?
Well, the French have shown their support. The same with the British. There is all-round condemnation for this. Even the Libyans themselves, the politicians who have spoken today, have said that this isn't typical of Libya. This is not the Libyan people. It's a small group of people who are behind it, and they vowed to crack down on them. But the reality is in Libya that the government does not have, despite being in place almost for a year now, there isn't a national police force. There isn't a national army. So even though they know these al-Qaeda camps exist, they can't crack down on them because they don't have the military force to do it. The country is riddled with tribal armed militias, and the government doesn't have control power over the whole country, Rochelle.
So what does this mean for our relations with Libya?
Well, the Libyans have vowed to crack down. How they're going to do that is going to be interesting. We know that there has been drone surveillance, according to Libyan officials, U.S. drone surveillance over these suspected al-Qaeda camps. If the government does crack down, as it says, there are Libyan officials today who've told me that this could precipitate a wider conflict in Libya because they would have to use militias that are going to come from different areas, step on other tribes' toes to get in at these al-Qaeda camps. So how this is resolved, this threat that's been shown against the United States and against other Western interests in Libya, it's going to be very, very tough for the government to A, do it, and then B, not precipitate a bigger conflict in the country.